Hey guys, Justin here. Quick note, the brake bias is really low, not for qualifying, but for the race, but you might as well keep it low for both. And then also, if you enjoy the video, if this helps you out at all, leaving a like on the video is the #1 way to help me out, and I would really appreciate it. All right, let's get right to the video. With the trucks though, loose isn't fast for hot lap because these trucks are so grounded that if you're getting loose, that probably means that you could be completely planted and still have the same rotation. Or at least enough rotation. I always felt like loose is fast didn't apply for hot lap. It's good for race, obviously.
And I don't know what the f doing. Hope it's a good split, man. I need a good race. I had 2 bad ones last night. I might try to farm Arca.
It's fun.
It's a short track, you know.
62. All right, let's take a look at this lap. So this is going to be a little different than usual because we are not starting on the out lap into turn 3. We're starting on pit road. And the reason of this is because if you want to get the perfect lap 1, you're going to have to bring as much momentum as possible. And you can really only do that starting on pit exit. So as you see here, we do our best to try to maximize our speed on the pit exit. And I'm doing that by staying along the outside of the access road of the apron. So I try to get a roll as much speed as possible on the apron, and then right before the apron chokes off for the exit of 2, I let off a little bit and then get back in so that I can carry the maximum amount of speed possible. You want to be full throttle almost the entire apron with just a little breathe to get the car rotated when needed. All right, so we're able to really pick up some speed here going into the corner. And so now you're gonna want to run right along this seam here. You can be a little bit above it, but if you get too high, you're gonna start getting too loose and lose some momentum. But if you hold it along this first seam, your car will get loose, but you'll be able to hold it under you without sliding the rear tires, and you'll be able to carry as much speed as possible off the corner. Full throttle all the way through. If you're not able to full throttle all the way through, that means that you're taking the wrong angle or you're not believing in yourself enough. So you can full throttle 3 and 4 on the out lap from the top lane. All right. So I'm not going to cut to the apron on the first lap, but what I am going to do is I'm going to run it as close to the yellow line as possible. So what we see here is how the quad oval or how the tri-oval kind of works is that it kind of goes straight and then it curves all the way. So we want our lefts to kind of just graze this part, and that's an extra 100th for free as opposed to sliding up too early, because you can graze that and still drive up all the way to the wall. So I experimented into turn 1. For 1, you can full throttle no matter what you do. You can just full throttle 1 and 2, especially if you have a good angle. So there's 2 ways you can approach this, but I found that the second way is going to be better here. The first way is to approach shallow. And to kind of hook the line. And it's pretty fast. You gain a little on entry, but you just lose a couple hundredths on exit and on the backstretch for it to be better. So what we want is we want to kind of a half arc. We want to bring it down early, but we want to bring it down from pretty high up. So you see I'm bringing it down early, but I'm carrying enough speed from the arc to where when we get our lefts right on the yellow, it just kind of sticks there without having to work too hard on the wheel. And a big part of maintaining speed is to not pin it to the yellow. So your first instinct when you're on the yellow is to keep it on the yellow as long as possible, especially if you're still full throttle the whole way. But actually, what you are more worried about is maintaining your speed and carrying your speed throughout the corner. So I keep my wheel essentially at the same place the whole corner, and the moment it starts sliding up, I allow it to. I just hold the same angle. And I might not be cutting off the corner as much as some people are, but because I'm not adding extra wheel to it, I'm carrying more speed. Okay, now 3 and 4, there are a lot of ways to take, but I really believe in my method for 3 and 4. Some people only breathe out of the throttle a little bit for 3 and 4 and then drive it super tight. The exit is so wide in 3 and 4 though that you can really use it to gain a lot of speed and momentum. So what I do is around the white marker right here, I let a little bit pass, I let all the way out. Now that's kind of odd seeing what some people do. But I let all the way out for a split second, and I'm trying to achieve in the split second where I'm all the way off the throttle is to turn my car and point it. I want to point my nose to this yellow line, right on the apex of it. So if I can do that, then that's ideal. So you can look at the motion one more time. Out of the throttle, point the car back into partial. So I'm back into partial the moment where my nose is aligned with this yellow apron line. So I hold it at 50% until I get almost to the yellow line. And now because this is hot lap, we can burn our right front. So once I'm confident my car is going to make this apex, I full throttle slightly before I reach the yellow and just let the car slide up to the wall. So you can see that I'm not keeping it pinned on the yellow. I'm letting it slide up and keep as much momentum as possible. Bring it all the way up to the wall, almost hit it. And then now we can go for the little apron cut at the very end here. All right, let's take a look at that one more time because this is a very, very important corner. Okay. A little bit past the white marker, let all the way out, point the car to the yellow, back to partial once you're pointed. Pick up the throttle when you feel like you can make the yellow line, and then just let the car slide up. This will take a couple reps to make sure that you're not getting into the wall, but once you put all this together, you're going to carry a crap ton of speed through the corner. And this was my method in both the colder practice track and the warmer qualifying track. Same idea, just a couple hundredths different. That's a good qual lap there. Now let's go right to the race. All right, let's take a look at the race here. So we actually ended up winning this race once again. 3.8K strength of field. Feel like a C-fixed farmer nowadays, which is not a bad thing at all. So this was a fairly straightforward race. We got a good long run in that I want to show you guys my line, say some tire wear, and figure out what to do on restarts and all that. So we're going to start on the start here. We qualified with a .707. Like I said at the beginning of the video, definitely about half a tenth to 1/10 slower in actual qualifying than in the practice sessions. But the only difference that you're going to get, the line is exactly the same. It's just your car is naturally going to be a little bit slower, especially in 1 and 2 because of just the nature of track temperature. So we're going to do the restart here. So I start in first gear, especially when I'm on the front row. And just like last week in C-Fix, they do these gearings a little bad. So basically what we're doing here is we're holding it a little bit above 6,000 and then stomp, but almost immediately shift. And this gets us a good jump start into second gear that when you can see here. See, first gear I get a jump. And that jump works especially well from the front. You might run into the back of people, or you might late shift it accidentally if you're farther back, so you might want to start in second, but I think first is always good. So for the first lap, I'm going to full throttle 1 and 2, just like the qual lap. I'm actually just going to do the whole first lap exactly like a qual lap. Tires, I don't care about them because I really want to keep this guy in second place behind me in the draft. So my line here was very interesting and different than people's. I don't know if it's great optimally, but I know that it worked for me. And that was to slide up early in 3 and 4 with the intention of keeping as little wheel in it as possible. So you see already on lap 2, I'm already breathing the throttle a little bit. Now this is preparing for a long run. If you're on a green-white checker situation, 5 to go, 10 to go, something like that, you can full throttle 1 and 2 for as long as you want. I'm just really taking care of the tires here. So I get all the way down to the yellow. That's my goal every lap this race. So some people will apex a little later than me and try to pin it a little farther off the corner to keep it off the wall. I kind of liked the idea of apexing slightly early and using it as an opportunity to not keep much wheel in it and then drive it up to the wall, because this exit's pretty darn wide. So I'm thinking, well, I might want to use all of it. This might not be the best way to approach the race, but I know that it can get it done. Maybe I'd lose to Derek Justice doing this. but maybe that'll be an update later if that happens. So basically the next thing that we're going to be looking at here is, let's go about 15 laps, lap 15. Let's take a look at what my drive is like. We're keeping second place close to us, and the reason is you really have no reason to try to gap second place as long as the tires have not fallen off greatly yet. The reason for this is if you can keep second place between 2 and 3 tenths behind you, the dirty air that they will feel by just running behind your car will cause them to burn more tire than you. So basically, by keeping them close, you can almost ensure that you pull away later on. As opposed to if I tried to burn my tires off to get a gap, then he'd just come back and close the gap. So let's take a look at my line. So I almost get full out of the throttle in 1 and 2 now, and then notice it's a slightly bigger arc and a slightly later apex. And I'm doing this just to minimize the amount of wheel that I'm putting in the car. And then in 3 and 4, full out. I'm even braking a little bit. I don't always brake, but I usually brake, especially if I realize I'm a little bit too deep. If I'm not braking, that means I probably let off the gas a little too early. But you see, I'm still getting this early up to the wall line. I just think it works. I think it works because you can see the angle of my wheel, and you can see that the orange is visible the entire time in this line because I'm not trying to pin it off the corner at all. And the momentum that you keep from that early-ish throttle is also going to gain a lot of time. So as you know, we're going to skip some laps ahead here. And this is where the tires start making a difference. Around lap 15, you see I'm just starting to drive away. And that's basically because I kept them in dirty air. And maybe my line was a tiny bit better, but honestly, I'd chalk it more up to dirty air. So we went 30 laps, I believe, without a caution. And then I believe we got a caution lap 31. And the tires here, I was at 70-87 after 30 laps. And then see second place burned off a lot more right front than me. That was mostly because of dirty air. And then some people farther back, like third place, was saving for a while, and he ended on 71-87. So really clean air is very important to saving tires. So easier said than done, but if you qualify first and you survive the first couple laps without getting drafted by and freight trained, then you're in a really good spot. So not too much crazy stuff on pit road. I was on very low brake bias because of keeping my brake bias low for the drag. And so I tried to brake a little early just because I was a little nervous about it, but I stopped pretty early in the box. So if you have your crew chief on who says pit boxing in 5, 3, 2, 1 right here, if you brake slightly or right on the right here, then you'll make your box every time. Right here, and then I get on it, and I was a little early because I didn't believe it, so I broke a little too early. But first pit box is really good getting out, so I wasn't too worried about it. And we lost the race off of pit road because our friend Caden, he took 2 tires from 7th or 8th place, so that will be enough to beat the leader off of pit road. So this is where it gets interesting. So now we're gonna jump ahead, and he got a crazy jump. We were actually, admittedly, we were trying to count each other down, but I guess in a bit of karma, Caden's mic cut out right before he said go, so he just went, which was kind of funny. But it all worked out. Actually, because inside line is full throttle and outside line is full throttle, inside line actually just got around me here. And I was like, man, my race is over. But nope, I can cross over here. And with that crossover, I had enough momentum from the outside to where I just need to nail 3 and 4. I slid up a tiny bit, but honestly it was fine. And then Caden on 2 tires is struggling a little bit, but honestly it's not that bad. Bottom of 3 I get the draft help, and I'm just able to sail it, and they're kind of stuck on each other's dirty air. And so we think we went a couple more laps here, and Caden's really stuck on 2 tires here. But it wasn't really that bad, and actually we got a caution there, so that helped him out too. So that actually set it up for a green-white checker. And honestly, from this position, again, we try to count it down for Caden, but he spun his tires a little bit, which was not good. But basically, I was long gone. Caden was holding up people inadvertently. Chiburko gets into him and really stacks up the field and allows me to just sail and kind of manage my last lap. I knew that Douglas was going to be getting draft, so I just made sure to get as good of exits as possible to negate the facts of the draft as much as possible. And then when he's 4 car lengths back, you know he can't dive bomb or anything. So I just take a really safe corner. He tries to dive it, but I just made sure I get to the yellow line, make sure that I don't screw up, and we get the dub here. So that actually sets us up pretty darn good in C-Fix points. We got quite a few wins this year somehow, so real quick I want to take a look at the points and kind of show you guys the trajectory that we're on. Yeah, so quick points update. I haven't really done this at all, but I'll start doing it for ARCA and C-Fix in the last couple weeks here. So we're 6 weeks counted out of 8, so we have a couple races to make up on some of these guys, and we're currently 12th, and only a little less than 300 points to make up on first place. But the real person to try to get past here is going to be Logan here. He's about 270 points ahead of us here with 1 race in hand, so it might take a really good Daytona week. I'm not quite sure if I can catch him to win it all. It would have to be some sort of Christmas miracle. But basically everybody ahead of me besides Logan here, I think I'll be able to pass once I make up the last 2 weeks at Daytona and Darlington coming up here. So that's something to look forward to, something to keep an eye on. But I did not expect myself to do this good in C-Fix this season. And if we go to ARCA too. So with ARCA, we're currently holding a 17-point lead over Mitchell Brighton, which is going to be really hard to uphold because I will not be here for SOF night next week at Chicago. So that's going to be really tough. Don't know if I'll be able to hold on to that points lead with that happening, but we're going to make out of it what we can. We got 2 weeks left to try to increase our points. I have a drop week still from Twin Ring, which is only gave very few points because of the splits. So in the next 2 weeks, we're going to try to beat out some drop weeks here between Chicago and IRP, and we'll see how things shake out after that. But all right, hope you guys like the video. It's helpful. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you all on the track.